Hey, everybody, this is episode 465. This is the last of the founder story. And Jackson's showing himself just a little bit down there. The dog. Oh, now my here. What, Mom? He's really chunky little monkey. But today we're joined by two of my friends, and maybe one more. All right, hey, Maura. Well, you're muted, but we're all over. We got Denmark to North Carolina to California. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves, and then if anybody else comes in later, we'll just let them go. And I'm going to put in the chat the if you haven't, it's not a big deal because I can just read it to you. But this is the PDF for the thing today. So let's see if I can, if you didn't get to download it already, it doesn't really matter. Just have a piece of paper. You want a piece of paper if you're doing this from the recording, just have a piece of paper, or you can download the link. It'll be the top link in the more section. All right. So, Janine, I'm going to get you to start. You're going to say who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Okay, I'm Janine Curtis. I'm in Huntington Beach, California. And I do acrylic paintings, but it's more mixed media and just, I'd really like to do real intuitive things. They're not realistic. And
you like unexpected combinations.
Yeah, I like surprises. Mm-hmm. I like to just try stuff and have the nerve to try stuff, which Diane is such a good instigator of that.
Well, you're trying new things now too, and I'm glad that you're willing to do it. All right, Adam, how about you? Who you are, where you are, and what you do.
All right, I'm Adam. I live in Denmark. I'm originally from Iowa, from Dubuque, Iowa. Here when I was 26. I'm almost 49 now, so I've been here a while. I'm a designer by trade, but I started off as a fine artist, and I keep a hold of that. So I still do fine art, but I do a lot of graphic design and illustration work, and that's kind of it. I do whatever's been fun. I've been lucky enough within my career to be able to kind of pick and choose.
What was your fine art? Was it printmaking?
No, it was drawing.
Oh, drawing. Oh, cool. Well, Maura wasn't a traditional, she started out in another way too, but I'm not going to ruin it. So Maura, how about unmute if you haven't, you're ready. Yeah. So who you are, where you are, what you do.
So I'm Maura McDonald and I live in Cary, North Carolina. I've been a visual designer for like 28 years. Yeah.
But you started
to paint for myself. Yeah.
But you started in industrial design.
Yeah, well, I got my undergrad in graphic and then went back and got my master's in industrial design because when I was in graphic design, they didn't have computers yet or anything. So everything was still just like letter set and photocopies and getting in the darkroom and mixing photos together, which I thought that's what it was. You didn't know anything better. And then when I went to graduate school, that's when like Photoshop came out. And I realized I like doing my presentations better than being in the shop, basically. But I went to get my master's in industrial design because I'd grown up with my grandfather in the summers and he owned a bunch of cabins in the Poconos and I used to help him build furniture. So that's what I used to get into my graduate program.
Which that is a great part of a founder story, of even just the creative part. And we're going to talk about that a little.
Oh, my grandmother was creative. My parents weren't, but my grandparents were very creative.
It skipped a generation.
Sewed and knitted and yeah.
That's cool. So I don't know if you guys are at all. So the founder, if you've followed this or know this, a lot of it is coming from this book, Stories That Stick, by Kendra Hall. But there's a lot of stuff that I've woven in and a lot of questions that I have or things that I struggle with that she doesn't really talk about. And also I always use Donald Miller as well. But so for me, the founder story, or for what she teaches, it's kind of like why the company began or why you started in this vein. I think like Maura, your story of making cabinets with your grandfather or making furniture with your grandfather, but then you did design. So that's where you kind of had the creative.
Yeah, so where my switch to design went was because when I was a senior in high school, my mother played tennis with somebody that was at a big PR agency in New York, and she got me an internship there. So that's how I really kind of found out about design. Yeah. Rather than more like crafting and,
right.
that kind of thing.
Right, right. Instead of it being so fine art led, maybe, or
Right.
furniture design, because that would have been more in the.
Yeah, because my mother also did bookkeeping for like a bunch of really cool furniture stores in New York City. And so whenever she'd be like going to the cool store in Soho, I'd be like, can I come? I'd be like 15 years old. So I've always
Yeah.
loved it. And I mean, I was the girl with, 3 brothers and, so I got all the girly stuff. And that included a lot of like art classes and
Yeah.
kind of things.
But when you're going, if you're currently going and you're either at a conference or networking, I know Janine gets to go to Italy. She'll be meeting lots of people. And some people may ask when you're at these things like, well, oh, what do you do? Or how did you get started? Or maybe it's a new client meeting or it's somebody like that. They're trying to figure out why, right? Why did you get into this? And for most of our lives, we just jump into how we can solve, and we tell one of the other kinds of stories that the other 2 workshops have covered. But this one tends to be, we think about, did you know that the Airbnb guys were both designers? Did y'all know that?
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah.
So they were both graphic designers, and they were living in San Francisco, and they couldn't really pay their rent. And there was I guess the How conference or something was going to be in San Francisco. And they were like, well, and all the hotels were booked. So they had this idea that they could buy some air mattresses and just put some people up. Other designers could stay, and then they'd be able to, rent out and pay their rent. And that's what happened. But it is weird because it was total strangers, and they didn't have bed and breakfast. They just had air beds for them to sleep on, Right. But
that's where the name came from.
Airbnb. It is. It's exactly. And they did have breakfast. They would buy the cheap Cheerios, like, that wouldn't say, they'd have an old Cheerios box and they'd fill it with the Tasty O's or something, so that the people coming, they would think they had Cheerios, but it wasn't quite. Timothy, good to see you. I'm not sure we've quite got you on, but sometimes we have a weird connection a little bit, but I'm glad you're here. So sometimes for me, the founder story is difficult because it's asking, well, what's interesting about your story? And Maura, I can see there's lots of interesting things about yours, but I don't know if my story's that interesting. So
everyone's story is different. That's all.
Exactly. And we're absolutely going to talk about that. But sometimes we need other people to be like, you might think that's not interesting. But
I did. I spent my summers up in Pennsylvania 10 weeks every summer until I was 16. And I wanted to go to camp. I just wanted to go to a camp. I didn't want to spend it at my grandparents' place. So there's always a greener pasture.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. So I'm gonna so if everybody has something to write with, I'm gonna jump into the deck. I'm gonna do a little bit and then we'll pop back out just to kind of set the stage so that we can start answering some of these things. Again, the reason we tell these stories is we're trying to close the gap in a connection with either a client or a customer. It helps them to trust us. It helps them to connect with us in a different way. This is in general. This is what she talks about in the book, is when to use your founder story. And obviously for people who are not just solopreneurs like us, there might be somebody else underneath us that's telling our story. But right now it's just us, I think, in all of our cases. But when to use it is the top 2 that we're going to really talk about is maybe when you're launching something, or when you're trying to differentiate in a crowded, noisy market. That happens all the time. And then the other two are attracting top talent. So you're trying to hire new people and you want the best people. Or if you're trying to secure investors. So you're going to something and you need, you're in round B level of funding or something. So that is not something I know about. And I'm not trying to hire anybody. So 3 and 4 are just mentioned, but again, those are times when they're trying to do it. So for me, this of the value story and just of all the kinds of compelling stories we can tell, the founder story oftentimes can be a hard one for other founders. But it is definitely the one that many founders struggle with the most. And the idea is, and these are why it's hard for me. I just made a list and I made a longer list than this, but these are also things that I've heard. And if you have any additions to this, I would love to know. And maybe it's not hard for y'all. I hope it's not, but it can be hard for me. So that it's focused on the founder. A lot of times people are like, well, let's focus on the customer. Well, that's a customer story or that's a value story. It's also, for me, it can be awkward for me to be the one highlighting myself when I normally highlight others, or as creatives, sometimes we are creating more in the background and then we have our thing that we're selling or our thing that we're doing for someone else, and that's the thing that's highlighted. Not necessarily we're happy behind the computer or happy behind the canvas. We're not necessarily trying to be out in the center stage. I also think for me, well, there's a lot of other people doing web design. They're doing amazing. Why would somebody, I have enough people, customers coming in, but if I was trying to go out there and sell the way I do it or get more customers, why are they choosing me? Maybe I don't know everything or something. And then the fact that I'm not for everyone. Did any of y'all have any additional why it might be hard to tell this founder story?
I think for me, it feels like bragging.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I don't like to hear people brag. So I think they don't like to hear me brag.
Right. But in that founder story that I told you about Airbnb, where I'm telling was there anything I was bragging?
No.
If really it was like telling, I was shedding light that they didn't have enough money. They were buying cheap Cheerios and putting them in the Tastios in the Cheerios box. And is that part of the brag? I don't know. I don't think so. Right. I don't think it. So maybe I agree. I totally, that's where I feel like the number 2 is for me. It's the bragging. I was told to be humble and
be modest and
right. But I don't think that it helps tell that story. For the Airbnb, it totally makes sense of how they got started. And to hear that, it just helps. It helps me to understand, but it doesn't feel like they were bragging. I mean, bragging that they didn't have enough money. I don't know, you're not bragging that you went to all these different camps and got to do no, you're saying, hey, I stayed with my grandparents in the summer and this is what I was doing. Right.
Right. And as an adult, I really appreciate it. But as a child, I didn't at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm not really sure that's even something that you would be bragging about, right? Like it's just
it
what
wasn't the cool thing to do.
Right.
Right. When I was a kid, yeah.
But how do we change that? How we perceive it? Like the other day, I had a session with Diane, and you were asking me some of these questions. And even as I was answering, I was thinking, I am talking too much about myself. It was just this continual, like, feeling guilty about it, or like, I don't know, I didn't like it. But so there must be some change, self-talk or something. How?
So, but
For
if,
practice,
and there is definitely some of, I think when you're connecting with someone else, do you feel like they're just talking about themselves, or do you feel like they're shedding light into something and now you're able to connect with them?
well, sometimes I do think it's bragging. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes if I'm not even aware of that and I'm interested, then it is just that they're letting me know them.
So then think about it like that. So we're going to absolutely not necessarily be bragging. We're really trying to make connections. And I think one thing is that you're not always sharing the beautiful things. You're sharing some of the yucky things as well.
And that's hard to do sometimes.
It's
Yeah.
super super hard. Adam, do you have any additions or any of these that resonate with you?
But I think you just kind of said it. I mean, there are parts of my story that feel tragic, and sometimes it's just hard to talk about.
Yeah.
And there are other times when I know that I've been extremely privileged. And so then talking about my tragedy feels false.
Mm,
So, because I mean, I am privileged. It's just awful. But I think that that's some of this kind of, where we feel like we're bragging and all of these other things. When we look back at ourselves and just say, okay, I've had it easier than I think.
Yeah.
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 Well, and I think that it does play into the role of I'm not going to be for everybody. Everybody's not going to be relating, but when you share what, yes, you were privileged and maybe the hardship as well comes out of that, and it maybe wasn't as hard as somebody else had it, but somebody needs to hear your story because your story is going to help them move forward because they connected more to you. They had some similar things like you had. So I think that there's something to that. I feel like even if you're just helping, one other person, it's worth it to me. All right, let's see if I can keep going. So the first thing we're going to do is I want you on your piece of paper. We're only going to take 5 minutes to do this. I'm going to time it. And if maybe it's 3 minutes, but what holds you back from telling your story? And I just want you to number each. So like if you were saying, okay, I feel like I'm bragging, I feel number two is blah, blah, blah. And you could go longer in those if you want. But so I'm going to do 3 minutes and then we're going to play devil's advocate in just a second. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes. If you're watching, you just have to sit in the silence. I'm going to do it too. Three minutes, 30 seconds is what we're doing. 30 seconds. Okay. What did you get? Janine, you want to go first?
Okay, so I put people will resent having to hear about me, self-absorbed. And I thought what Adam said about the privilege was interesting. Like if I try to bring out the struggles, it'll sound like I'm feeling sorry for myself.
Mm.
And I might go off on a tangent, like something unrelated. So the people pleasing and being judged, that really worries me.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking, does it relate to people? Feels like a performance. And it makes me anxious just because I feel like, you're being judged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are awesome. Okay. Adam or Maura?
I'll go. I wrote, what I always say, no one cares.
I wrote that too. That was my number 3.
I also feel like it's not the whole story, it's just a part of my story. So and I feel like people think it's your whole story, it's not. And because I have a lot of guilt about things in my life, so it there's that shame, I guess, kind of feeling. And a lot of times it's just that for social, a lot of times, like when I was doing my illustrations, it was like, I was giving myself an hour. Like, really, was I going to create something great in an hour? No. You know what I mean? So then it's like, you're really not putting out your best work. You know what I mean? And I don't get a lot of likes because I'm not a big promoter of myself,
Yeah, because
So
it's hard.
But I do say on the flip side of it, I've learned so much about myself from doing it. So it's worth it.
For sure. All right, Adam.
I think these guys copied my homework, but okay. I think we're gonna say the same thing. I feel like I'm bragging. I think that was a good place to start it from. I feel like I've not accomplished enough. I tell my story, and it's like other people have bigger stories than mine, so why is mine so important? I feel like other people can tell their story better than I can tell mine. Yeah, they're more exciting, they're more interesting. I'd rather hear it from somebody else than hear my own. Um, I don't necessarily feel successful. That kind of is the same one, the second one. And I get lost in storytelling. I end up talking about myself and end up on a tangent someplace else, talking about something that happened 10 years ago while trying to tell somebody a simple story. I just lose track and don't really lose track because, like Maura said, it's a big story, right? I mean, it's 30 years of my life doing this.
That's right.
So, and then I'd rather not talk about myself because if I don't tell people about myself, they don't have anything to criticize.
Yeah. The judgment is
Share
real.
with other people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I relate. I'm going to just read what I wrote too. I said, I feel like I'm bragging. I really like that. I said, I feel like I'm self-involved, that no one cares. The who does she think she is? Like, that's like what I think about the mean girls in high school, that they'll be like, who does she think she, gosh, put your, whatever. And then I said, just because I'm uncomfortable, I also think, well, what if I tell them wrong? What if I tell them or give them advice and it's wrong? Like that holds me back sometimes. I also sometimes I'm like, well, I'm not ready. When will you be ready, Diane? And then my way of doing it might not be the same as someone else. And then it's that judgment. Like,
But that's what they're, hiring you to do your way,
That's right. That's right. And I feel like there's some things that I'm confident in that I can be like, I can tell you how to do this. I could talk about it, but I'm not sure I don't enjoy it. So for me, the founder story is I don't want to talk about myself, but what happens is that the thing that I want to grow doesn't grow because it's not getting any sunlight. I have this thing where I'm Did you know that you can cut like romaine lettuce? We buy romaine lettuce mostly. I like other kinds, but John really just likes romaine. So we get the romaine lettuce, the head, and so it still has, it's not just individual leaves. And you can cut off the bottom. We don't eat the stuff right at the end. We don't eat it all the way to the nub. You can cut off the bottom and then peel some and then cut off a little bit of that bottom edge, and you can stick that in water and it'll make a new plant. Did you know that?
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
You don't really have to buy too many pieces of romaine because you can just grow your own, right? If you get a pack of them at the grocery store, there's 3 in a pack. I don't know how it is in Denmark, but I know how it is in Iowa. Yep. But really, so we leave them in. I use the Tide, the thing you pull off, the plastic thing that you put your Tide in, and then you pour it into your laundry. I mean, maybe all of y'all are doing the little pods now, but I still use the liquid. We just use those little cups, and I stick them and they're clear. I stick them in the windowsill, and I have all these romaine lettuces going, and all they need is sunlight and water. And I'm like, what could I grow? You've got to try it. What could I grow with just sunlight and water? But how am I not, like even with the podcast, how am I not sharing? Somebody asked me, well, how many people did you tell about your podcast at Creative South? I was like, maybe 2. Like, I just don't do it. It's just, and I think part of it is I need to get over myself because I think it can help other people. But this is where it's not necessarily about me. Maybe I need to tell a value story or I need to do something. But the reason why I started the podcast was because I got rejected from my alma mater. They didn't even give me an interview, give me a online interview, nothing. Like, I was not even good enough to even get a letter. We've already filled the position. Like, I had to call them and ask them. Wow. And to me, that is a super shameful. But what I did was I said, you know what? I'm not going to be in my own bubble anymore. I'm going to get better. I'm not going to be bitter. I love my alma mater. I love my professors, but I'm going to get better. I'm going to be somebody who they're proud of. And so, but if I'm not willing to tell people or to promote or to do whatever, even if it is just an hour, that you could do that in an hour, but then that you recognize I've done 100 days or 300 days of this. Now I need to spend more time. What can I do with more time? Yeah. And I think it's when it's something uncomfortable, just like running. I know, Maura, you're a runner. When you started running, you're like
started walking, right?
Right. But it wasn't like you went and you're just going, or you're only going to do it for a week and then maybe you'll be able to run, 15 miles. No, you're going to have to build up to this. And I think we have to practice our stories. It doesn't need to be a script, but it can have, like, so that we don't go off on a tangent, which is totally what I do all the time, Adam, because I know you've watched the show enough to know. But like, in that if you have sort of a framework of what your story is, what the good part, what the ugly, yucky part is, but that the ugly, yucky part is the part that connects people. You can understand maybe that I didn't get a job that I wanted and that I felt ashamed, but I also wanted to get better and I didn't want, I knew that I could be better. So I decided to change how I was learning, and I started to really focus on getting better as a designer and learning those things. So, all right, so we're going to flip it. So this one, I'll give you a whole 5 minutes. So what you're going to do is why we numbered those, and maybe we'll talk about 1 or 2 of them before we get started. Is there a number that you can think of that you could tell me what it says, that you could flip it? Like, what I mean is you're going to flip that excuse, like the I'm not ready, let's say. Could you help me flip that? Like, how would you how would you tell me? Like, so you would say, if I said, oh, Maura, I just don't feel like I'm ready, what would you tell me?
I'm like, are you kidding me? You do so much in the creative community.
but then you're proving it to me. And you're reminding me of things because you've known me the longest, right? I mean, we've known each other a long time.
Yeah.
But
Creative
sometimes,
self, really, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So you would say, "Hey, Diane, really? Can you tell me how long you've been doing this? What would make you feel ready?" Right? Like, well, maybe that's just the imposter syndrome that I'm heading up. Maybe I'm ready. I'm not ready to be the guru, right?
When will you be ready?
Exactly. And that's another flip. We're never ready. We'll never feel ready. Did you feel ready to be a mom?
No, didn't know what it was. Well, I mean, I wanted to be a mom since I was a little girl, and I was going to do it different than my mom. I was a very adamant kid like that. But so I mean, I was ready in that sense, but I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. I was the third child. I didn't have like babies. My
Right?
brother is 13 months younger than me. I don't, like we were both babies.
But you figured it out. But I feel like some people are like, well,
Oh yeah, right. Right. That's something I feel like as a person, if you want children, you'll figure it out. You know what I mean?
but that's the same way with us, with our businesses, or fine art, if we're trying to, whatever it is that it is, if we really want it, we will figure it out. But if we don't ever tell anybody about, I mean, this isn't necessarily
Oh yeah, if you don't
self-promotion.
ask, you don't ever get a yes. Right.
Yeah. And you've got to get a lot of no's before you get, for sure, it'll be a no if you never ask. Right.
So it's a no before you ask. So
Exactly.
right.
So it doesn't hurt to ask. So is Maura, do you have one on your list that you're like, I do not know how I'm going to flip this?
I'm thinking more of a personal thing, but like I had a terrible father. I mean, he wasn't a terrible man, like mean or anything, but he just was absent,
Mm.
And then he died when he was 55. So it's like I kind of was like, oh, good, now you can't hurt me anymore, Like this is a man that never told me he loved me. And
Mm.
so I carried that with me for a long time. And I had to flip that. And when I flipped it, I realized like, oh my God, I had a great grandfather. And that's who I spent more time with than anybody. And then I realized, my children don't have grandfathers. They've not known grandfather.
Mhm.
They've had grandmothers, but they haven't known grandfathers. And I thought, but they have a great dad. And that's how I kind of flipped it in my head now, like reframed it totally. Like you get one or the other. You don't get both,
Yeah, that's a great way to flip it. I love that. But sometimes you do have to think, oh, nope, it's not that I had a bad dad. It's that I had an awesome grandfather.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Yep.
Adam, do you have anything on your list that you're like, I don't know how I'm going to flip this?
No, I think most of them I've already attacked myself on. I mean, all those the kind of negative talk, I sit in front of a mirror and kind of talk to myself and just say, that's not true.
Okay, good.
Number two was like, I feel like I've not accomplished enough. And then I just sit back and I list the things that I've done
Mhm.
and I say, okay, but I mean, that is relatively amazing. And I know that when I tell others, I get that feedback from them. And it's like, okay, but I don't feel that way. I hear what you're saying, but for some reason, it doesn't resonate inside of me enough for me to believe it. But I know it's true because I know that I've worked really, really, really hard to do the things that I've done and to learn the things that I've learned and take the steps that I've taken. Um,
Are
but
you where you want to be? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be, VP of design. That's never been a goal of mine. You know what I mean? So I always say, like, you're either a maker, like what I want to do, I want to make things, or you're more of like a manager, like, so I mean, you have to, I think when you come to terms with that, it makes you not feel so bad. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I think I've kind of reborn myself a dozen times now already in this life. It's like, okay, that was really interesting. I did it. Now let me go to the next thing. And yeah, I
Maybe
don't know.
you're
That
a reinventor.
Yeah.
maybe.
You could help people reinvent themselves or be okay with figuring out.
Right.
But if that's something that or people who are pivoting, you know what I mean? Because you've been able, anyway, that sounds like a
Or
really
start
good rest
mentoring.
of the story.
Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, don't talk. I started mentoring and it's been amazing for my self-esteem. I'll tell you what, because I enjoy doing it. It's very easy for me to talk about. And I get these reviews of people telling me how great I am, of things that I never thought I was good at.
Hmm.
So it's like you get, and I find in my career, I don't get a lot of feedback in the corporate world. They don't give a lot of feedback. It's just like, make that edit, you know? So
Yeah.
that's where I feel like I've gained the most about who I am as a designer, is from what other people have told me. Yeah.
Yeah. Janine, did you have anything on your list that you think is going to be hard to flip?
Well, the people pleasing, I put that, but I thought, well, what's wrong with people pleasing?
I'm kind of,
Really? People
I am.
like to be pleased,
Mhm.
unless I'm just like really down on myself about it. I mean, we're meant to serve in a way. Do I want everybody not to be pleased with what I'm doing? No. But also, this makes me anxious, and I hate that feeling. But I remember somebody telling me that's excitement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So Gay
If I can
Hendricks.
remember, this isn't just a negative thing that I've got to conquer. It's energy, it's
Mhm.
excitement.
Gay Hendricks says that in our body, excitement and the anxiety or fear, um, yeah, that nerve. It's like I always think about the first time I rode a roller coaster. Do y'all remember the first time you rode a roller coaster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like probably 14 or 15 because I finally was tall enough to get on the freaking ride because I'm really short. So I go and I'm like, ooh, it was the Scream Machine in Atlanta. And I was pretty nervous because then you're like, oh my God, am I tall enough? Really? I don't want to, scoot through the thing and end up in the
Fly
air.
away.
Right. But I thought it would be, I think about in what I end up doing and why I don't tell my founder story or I don't self promote is I just keep having someone else go in line in front of me. The anxiety is actually getting worse because it's building. And I'm just letting other people go ahead of me. But Gay Hendricks talks about that in The Big Leap, I think. I've read 3 of his books, but he talks about it's the excitement and fear, I think, are the same same feeling in your body, but one you breathe through your breathing, and one you hold your breath. You hold your breath when you are in fear or anxiety.
God, I do
But
that a lot.
so it's really important. Literally, just breathe and say, "No, I'm excited." So I like the things that Adam was saying. He's like, I'm in the mirror telling myself, "Nope, you are. You have done this, 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 and this, and you've done this, this. This is a lot. This is accomplishment. I want to do more. And that's good, but I have done a lot already." Right?
Yeah. Like I have to tell myself, I've been hired by big companies. Like the IBM would have not hired me if I was a terrible designer.
And you worked for them for tons of years.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you have to, and because I mean, going through menopause has been hard with the self, bad talk. And I've had to tell myself logically, I know it's not true, you
Right.
know?
Right. I think that's important. Well, so, and I'm kind of with you on I haven't, I think that we're told not to people please, like that's not, but I also am like, well, I think we're supposed to serve people. So I'm with you, Janine, a little bit. I have a sheet of paper over there I was writing on earlier that was about people pleasing. And so maybe I'll do a whole talk on that later in the summer or something, but it's on my desk. So for right now, maybe this one can just be another 3 minute. So what I want you to do is kind of like what Adam was saying he was having to do in the mirror. And if you've already done this, I said maybe just pick 1 or 2. But again, why we numbered them was you can start with whatever number you want. What I would love for you to do is pick one that's easy and do that one. Write out what the flip is and pick another one that is not easy, and try to write out what the flip is for that. So if a lot of us had the bragging kind of down, if we were going to flip that, let's just do this one together. How would you, if I said, if Maura said, well, I feel like, excuse me, I'm bragging. What would you say to Maura?
How else would we know that about you?
How else do we know that you are awesome at patterns? Or how else do we know that you create these artworks for show homes? Or how else do we know? How else do I know what you're good at so that I can hire you to do these things? How else do I know that you're a mentor? I wouldn't know.
Exactly. Yeah. If I had never said anything. Yeah.
Like I'm always looking for a handyman. So if I thought I'm going to interview 3 people and decide which one's best, if they come over and say, I'm really not that great. And I don't really want to do this that much. And if they were
I'm burned out.
downplaying
Yeah.
everything, but if one brought their portfolio and showed their best work, it's like it would give me important information about them.
That's so true.
Absolutely. How would you flip it, Adam?
I think it's kind of been said. I mean, there are certain truths or truths, right? I mean, solving a math equation is not bragging.
Yeah.
1 plus 1 is 2. I didn't brag by saying that. I don't think so. 1 plus 1 is 3. Maybe I am bragging by saying that. I know math so well that 1 plus 1 is 3. So
No, if you were given like a really hard one, I'd be very impressed. Yeah.
But like even Maura, you were talking about being a mentor and how that's really changed how you look at yourself, but you're just looking at people and helping them on that journey. You didn't even think it was a thing.
I didn't see myself as a teacher ever.
Right.
I've always like, I don't have the patience for that. I just never had like a calling for that at all, and so like the mentorship thing happened right when the pandemic happened, and I wanted to get comfortable on camera because
And you did.
in the tech world, people don't get on camera. And so I was like, this would help me if I did something regularly, like twice a week or something, that would help me get comfortable with it. And it totally did. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. Do you want to do this for a minute then? Do you want to just try? How about a minute and a half?
Okay.
Okay. A minute and a half. Pick 2, a hard one and an easy one. Not an hour and a half. That would be a really long session. Okay. Go. Ten seconds. Adam, you're going to go first this time. So you can't say, they said all of my things.
They said all of my things. So, I had one that I said that I feel like other people can tell their stories better than mine. That their stories are more interesting. And the thing that I wrote on this is that no one's story is like mine.
Nope.
Nobody will tell exactly the same story as the one I'm going to tell. The probability of that is almost none. Maybe there's a doppelganger out there that I haven't met yet, but I hope not, for his or her own sake. That yes. And then the other one about feeling like people will come back criticizing me when I tell the story. The odds of that are so low, of getting a critical response to a story. And even if I do, how much would that really hurt me? And could I take that criticism as real, as something to learn from? Would there be that opportunity of doing that where I would never get that opportunity if I don't tell people?
Those are so good, Adam.
Yeah.
All right, Janine, you tell us before you have to go. Do this one.
Okay, I did that thing about I might go off on a tangent.
Mm.
And then so my flip, I went off on a tangent. It's like,
So,
okay, the tangents are the details.
Mm.
And so, like, just to give a general story, like, okay, here's my name, kind of like our opening thing. Here's my name, here's where I live, here's the kind of painting I do. Okay, that's okay at first, but it's like, it's those tangents that really, that's when I know for me, that's when I'm really listening to what somebody's saying. That's the real interest. So I guess it's like permission to go off on a tangent.
It's like the spices that you add to the meal. If you don't add any spices, it's going to be really bland. And you're spicy.
And they're not usually the premeditated.
Right.
Like, oh, that just happened. I don't even know what took me off on that. So it's a more natural from the gut.
Which is what you're interested in painting anyway. It is that intuitive part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maura, how about you?
I kind of went with like, you're just not good enough, or you don't give it enough time, because I get myself on that a lot. And I kind of went back with, like, flipped it with like, well, just start reflecting more, like, and start to journal more and connect more. Just kind of don't be so private,
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you were mentoring someone and they were like, well, I don't want to show you my work, I'm just going to tell you about it. You're like, I can't, exactly. I can't give you any, I can't help.
I've learned through doing mentorship that I'm not good at building websites. It's not my forte, but I'm very good at critiquing their portfolio websites, because I've seen so many of them. Between being at Red Hat, where we hire production designers and we'd get thousands of people for it, and I'd have to review thousands of portfolios. So it's like I know what to look for, though I can't do it myself. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I wrote being uncomfortable, and I flipped it and said, I feel like I'm Adam in the mirror. I really like that. I have a whole bunch of post-its on my mirror. My husband's like, oh my gosh, are you even able to see around all those post-its? Being uncomfortable is not something to avoid. It means you're living and you're trying. And then when I said I might tell them wrong, well, if I know it's not might. I'm sure I will tell somebody something wrong. It just happens. Things change so much. Then I'll look it up. I'll fix it. Or say, hey, I'm human and I make mistakes too. I'm not a robot. And I think it's okay. Like, I need to give myself permission for it to be okay. Okay. So so we played devil's advocate. All right. So I want you to answer just in general, really quickly. This will be your 1 + 1 is 3, Adam. How many teachers have you had in your life, do you think?
75.
75. Okay. I mean, a lot. I've had a lot. Anybody have another number?
I'd say 100. I mean, between not just teachers that taught me in school, but like even just mentors that I've had.
That's right. They're a teacher, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was number 3 on our sheet. You can write a number down. Now I want you to think about a specific area. Number 4 says, how many people have you learned from specifically in one area? So I said, like, landscape painting. Do you go to only one teacher or do you learn from many? Or I said, like, typography. Do you learn from one book? because I even think a book is a teacher. I mean, it's usually one person or a team of people. Did you learn from one book or one teacher, or did you learn from many? So pick a subject and list as many people you remember learning from. And it can be a subject that you're trying to learn now, or that you've already feel like you've learned a lot in. So go write that down. I'm going to do just a minute and a half again. It might be a minute. Do you know what topic you're going to do?
Mhm.
You could do pattern design, Maura.
Okay.
Okay. Janine, I'm going to go with you first. What topic did you choose?
Functional art.
Okay. How many people? Just count the number of people. How many people did you?
So probably I haven't, maybe 5 people.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Adam, how about you?
I have kind of two different ones on this. So if I think about drawing, it's quite limited. I mean, I've always been quite focused that fine art was something that I was in self-discovery with.
Mm-hmm.
And learning how other people did their thing wasn't ever so much of my interest. Even technically, it hasn't ever really been in my interest. So that's been extremely limited. But then if I think about like logo design, I think it's almost infinite. I mean, because just looking out on the infinite web that there is and learning from every identity that I've looked at and read about why people did what they did and so on and so on. I think it's quite a different experience.
So I like that about the two different sides of that, the experimental. But have you in drawing? Do you think you've only since it's self? Do you feel like you've only used one medium?
Almost. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
All
I've
right.
had a very limited palette when it comes to drawing. It's
Okay.
either been
Cool.
charcoal or pencil or pastels.
Okay.
So, yes.
All right, Maura, how about you?
All right, so I'm going to use pattern design,
Okay.
and I had never been a pattern designer, and I was getting into a lot because of Diane, I think. And I signed up for a bunch of like 4 different like pattern design making classes that were like, try this free, and from that I kind of just went found who I resonated with most, who I liked their style the most,
Mm.
and signed up for one of their courses. And then it really talked about how much looser that type of work is than what I've been doing. And so like I was like, all right, how do I get loose? And that's when I started painting again, because I used to paint a long time ago. And so I started painting, and I realized how much looser I am with painting, because you have to be. And that's helped me with my pattern making, because I can loosely paint like a pattern of something, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's a great idea to bring into the computer and create a pattern.
I love that. So one thing I love that you said, Maura, was I I learned from a lot of people, and then I found okay, it's been awesome to have her. That was you said I found a lot of people, and then I found who I resonated the most with. So if you're so in um say you're trying to do pattern design and you're trying to license your work to someone else, and Adam's making logos and he's trying to find clients, everybody's not going to come to Adam and everybody's not going to come to you, Maura, but they're going to find that the certain people are going to be able to find you because of how you resonate. And if you don't ever tell your story, then how can they resonate
Yeah,
with
I
you?
find a lot of my career, everything's been a connection of some sort. Like it's not just random me sending out like a resume on a job portal. You know what I mean? Like it's always been, there's always been some kind of connection. Whether I created that connection or it's something outside of me created that connection.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the number 5 on the sheet was how many different ways can you explain what you do? So if you think about the I feel like the Adam, as you've pivoted and you've done lots of reinvention, as for Maura, you've also done reinvention as well. So whichever part of you that you are trying to work in currently, how many different ways could you explain? So I always use the example of you're standing in the fix it, line at the fix it place, like we have Lowe's. I don't know what you have over there in Denmark, but like,
Yeah.
a home improvement store where there's lumber and screws and paint and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a rando person. You have no idea what they do, but you start a conversation. But then there's other people who you met at maybe it was at a business networking event, or it was at something else that was more in line business wise. So you have a little bit more. But when you're just saying, here's what I do, because you're trying to just make a connection in kind of a general way with somebody who's at the home improvement store, but maybe you're doing more specific when you're with other creatives, or more specific in how you work when you're with other people. So like in a business networking or something. So the story she tells in this is how that Brian Chesky, who is one of the founders of Airbnb, he failed. I really don't know how the guy kept going, to be honest. Like, no one had heard of this. Everyone thought this was a terrible idea. He's like, you're going to bring people in your homes. Oh, that's not safe. Like it does seem crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is worldwide. But he didn't give up because he saw it solved a problem for other people. Right? They wanted to go to this conference. They needed all they needed was a safe place to stay, and he did that, and he gave them fake Cheerios or whatever, right? But he proved that that people would do this, and maybe it was a younger audience, and now it's not just a younger audience, it's everybody. But
well, like in Europe, they have hostels. I did that. I traveled for 3 months in Europe after college, and we stayed in hostels, which are similar in a sense,
Yeah, because you're sharing a room with other people you don't know, right?
That you don't know, yeah. Or sleeping on a train with a bunch of people you don't know, yeah.
Right. But I think that it was like our homes are very private, and people could take things, or people would take advantage. And not that doesn't ever happen, I'm sure.
You're not there, right?
Right. But I think sometimes, and they say in the book, they talk about one of the investors. They said the first time they heard his story, they thought he was crazy. And he heard that over and over. So there's that also, like, I'm not giving up, even though it's crazy. That means I'm not explaining it in a way that they're understanding. And that's why I think it's important to be able to use other kind of analogies or other situations to explain what you do. So maybe we don't have enough time to do that today, but I do think that is important. But the other thing is just don't give up.
Which I think some people are better at that. You know what I mean? Of not giving up.
But he proved that that people would come and stay in strangers' house because he did it. Yeah. Right. So as soon as they heard the story, most people were able to be flipped.
But it's a very empathetic sensibility. You know, that idea of inviting somebody into your home, because I think most of us wish that would happen to us. That if we were out and lost and had no place to
Right.
stay, that somebody would say, "Hey, come, you know,
Mhm.
here's a bed, just come and stay." And I think that often we disguise that empathy and we tend to call it naivety, especially in a
Mhm.
business sensibility. Oh, that's extremely naive to believe that people you could just open your home to people. And I think that maybe we shouldn't do that
Yeah.
because we need a bit more naivety and
Mhm.
empathy in the
Yeah.
Right.
work.
Like, a little more
Yes.
compassion. Yeah.
And Donald Miller talks about, so in story brand there's like an empathy statement and an authority statement, and the empathy statement is like, hey, I understand because I'm also a blank like you, right? Maybe it's an entrepreneur, maybe you're a dad, maybe it's a you're a business owner, you're a truck driver. I don't know what people are, that they're, but you are this person that has also overcome something. I get it. I'm there. I've
I've done
done it.
harder things. Yeah.
Right. Right. I've done it too.
Mhm.
But I always think like when I'm trying to sell a website, not that I don't ever feel like I'm like got my briefcase going to sell a website. I don't feel like
You're a
that. I'm
writer.
right.
Yeah.
I'm just telling, like, it doesn't matter to me if they don't go with me. More than likely someone will build them a website, but I'm going to tell them what I'm going to do to help them. And because I just know there'll be something else, someone else will
One
come
door
and
closes, another door opens. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So I do think it's important to be able to explain what you do. And she doesn't talk about that in the book, but can you imagine how many times he had to explain? I mean, they went years and no investors, and they were just trying to do this. And they went in tons of personal debt, him and his design brand partner. I don't know that other guy's name. But I said start with two different personas. Are there any that, I mean, have you had to explain what you do of that specific thing? Like I think about, okay, if we're just talking about web design, that is where I would say I focus most of my energy, and it's where I make probably the most money. And I really enjoy doing it. But I mean, I also like to do the patterns. But if I'm talking to people about webs, they don't care about my patterns really.
Right.
So if I'm doing that, I was talking to John yesterday, my husband, he said, well, are you going to say you built my website? I was the first person you built a website for, and I was like, oh gosh, no, I do not want to. I mean, it is still up. It is
Oh, wow. It's still
HTML
up.
basic, with tables. I built it in 2005. I mean, it's a lot of years, but that's the beauty of not having to update all plugins or
Yeah.
anything because it was all CSS and HTML.
Right. There's all that.
But
Yeah.
he's like, I'm the reason you did it. I was like, I did not want to do web design. That's true. Actually, I did not because it was not fun.
Yeah.
And
I
it
don't like
was,
it. I feel like I don't have control. Like that's my problem with it.
so to me, there's a ton, because I've went through all the good parts and bad parts of web design. It's like, it's fun for me because it's solving problems. And it's bigger than just, I mean, my husband is not an ideal client. He's like, I want 8,000 photos on my web. And I'm like, you can't have 8,000 photos. You have to nip it down. And he's like, no.
Right.
And I'm like, that's why we're not redesigning your site because you won't ever nip it down, buddy.
Rein it in.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just keep the HTML site that he has. But can you think of a situation where you're,
I could say like, but for me, when I'm keep thinking when you're saying this is that like, if I have to just, a lot of people ask me, what's the difference between a graphic designer and a visual designer? I'm like, nothing. It's really nothing. It's just one company uses that term and another company uses the other, like people think there's a difference. And I'm like, there's not. I've been called both, and so I always say, and really as a visual designer, we're communicating copy. We're giving visuals to copy.
yep.
That's the basics of it. Where people learn through pictures better than words. And so we're assisting that copy with imagery for people to understand.
Yeah. I love that. But you might tell that differently to someone
Well, I
at
can tell my mother
Lowe's.
that and she will never understand it.
Right.
No, I seriously, like, she's known me my whole life. She's 81 years old. Part of it, she doesn't care. And I understand that. She's a very apathetic person, but there's also this thing of like, you've been seeing me do this, and what don't you read magazines? You've seen ads in magazines. That's where I started, like, I just don't get it with her. Like, I understand maybe you don't understand what I do at IBM, but I've worked at other more commercial type companies where you can understand that. And she just won't. Like, I've reined it into like, she just does not care to understand it.
So, and those are not really, when someone's really trying to be your customer, so they say that the founder story really closes the gap, and it can humanize the, business for you closing the gap for getting a client. And you think, well, why do they care? But maybe somebody does care that I've been doing it for almost 20 years and that I started way back in HTML and CSS, right?
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, but has it changed? Holy cazoli, has it changed? And I have loved it and hated it. And I didn't want to do it, to be honest. Adam, what about you? Do you have anything that you, like, two types? I think of like, if I was doing web for just web, if that was what I'm focusing on doing the founder story about web, I might say, I work with artists, and then I also work with interior designers or real estate photographers. Those are three maybe different people, but one thing that connects them all is they have to have beautiful photography. If you don't have beautiful photography, I kind of don't want to work with you, because I love awesome photography. What would it be for you?
Well, I mean, it can be a little different. When I do like B2C work, business to customer work, I always place myself as being Cyrano. That's my position. My position is to create a love match between my customer and their client.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my job. My job is to be the middleman, to be the glue, to be that thing that binds them, to explain to the customer why this client is so good, and so on, back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Create the best marriages that I possibly can. And for B2B work, it's different, right? Because it's often internalized. So it's my job then is to be the best listener. What can I learn? Tell me your story. Let me learn who you are so that I can express that back to you as a mirror in the best way possible. But the Cyrano one is by far my favorite.
I love that.
Because Cyrano de Bergerac is a fantastic story that a lot of people tend to know anymore, especially the younger generation. They don't know the story. But that's always how I felt, that big-nosed, ugly guy who knows how to tell wonderful poems and sonnets, but himself doesn't get the love of his life, right? That's my position, is to be that weird little mystic guy in the middle.
But that's a great role of a designer. It's not about you, it's about them, and you're making it. I love that. But also in the B2B, you're reflecting on them so that they can communicate with the people internally, or they can communicate to another company of maybe it's not a love match, but it's like, I'm going to be the best friend for I'm going to help. It's like I'm steps. You're going to get further if you take my steps instead of somebody else's steps. I like that. It's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's awesome. I love it. Now if a lot of people don't know that story, now it's your job to repeat that story, right? I love that. I absolutely love it. Okay, so I know we're almost out of time. Okay, well, you have the sheet. What if you don't feel like, and I don't know if either one of you feel like this, but I've heard people say this. What if you don't feel like you have a story to tell, or there may be parts of your story that you don't want to share? So I thought about like a boat. And I didn't get a picture, but I did a drawing on my piece of paper, a boat. And then there's a boat in the water, a boat on a trailer I don't really know if I have confidence on a boat on a trailer. I actually don't know if there's a hole in the boat, but you put a boat on some water, it's floating, you know,
Wow,
it's
yeah.
so there's some trust there, but I don't have to see everything that's underneath. So
Right.
I don't know if we have to share everything, but some of those dings that we can see in the boat help us to know you've weathered a storm. Maybe it's a sailboat and
Got
some of
through
this.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you've had to retape, you've had to adjust. So, all these pivots, Adam, like I just want to know about the pivots. To be honest, Maura, same thing with you. You've had pivots
Oh,
and
yeah.
you've like come through with amazing sails from on your ship because those storms have made you stronger. Did you know all
Every
these?
experience makes you stronger, is how I view it.
Ab-
So it's just get you know, and like they even say in the culture in the US, like it's changing from material things to experiences, you
yep.
know, and I think that's going to make people a lot more cultured and more, you know, just more
Richer.
interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Richer as a person of from the experiences. Did you know that if you have a plant, I know this works with tomatoes and marigolds for sure. I don't know about other plants, so don't take my advice on other gardening things. But if you have a plant, let's say a marigold or a tomato, do you know how best to make this plant stronger if it is just first coming out of the ground? Do either of you know?
With a stick and tie it to
No,
it.
no. But that could be.
I've done that with plants. Yeah.
So, Adam, do you want to guess?
I have no idea.
Did you know if you cut, so say there's there's like a leaf at the top or a flower at the top or something, and then there's two good leaves, maybe there's more leaves. If you go to you want to leave the good leaves, but you cut the bud off. You cut the top of the plant. Now, we're talking about a small plant. You cut it off. Now, this is like painful, but I don't want to cut the top
Yeah,
of
I
the
hate when
tomato off.
flowers fall off.
But this is before it flowers. You will actually make the plant stronger and it will go wider instead of just growing tall and leggy.
Yeah, that's
And
like true with your bushes, your hedges and stuff too. Yeah.
so you want to cut it so it gets wide and strong
Thicker.
instead.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, because you don't want the tomato plant just falling over because you have to have the stick or a cage
Right.
around it or something. Um, but if you feel like you don't want to share all the parts, but maybe there's a part of the struggle that you could share because it gives the empathy, but it also helps them to know that you've weathered the storm. So here is a question: how long have you been selling X? And why I said selling, I was like, should I use that? These are all from my head. None of these are in the book. But a service or a product. So how long have you been selling? What would patterns or what Adam logos or what? Like if you had a specific thing, I could say for websites since 2005. That is an authority, but it's also even if it's just a year. I mean, Maura, when did you sell those paintings or those illustrations to the people in for the show homes?
Oh, for
Like,
staging companies. So yeah, I guess that's started about 2 years ago. But I really wanted to create like an e-commerce store. I thought that'd be so cool, and I was unable to do it in like 6 months. I could not figure it out, and I did a lot of work and just couldn't figure it out. So then one day I just went into like, all right, how else can I do this? And I thought, who else buys this? And then I knew that a girl that I grew up with, that I was friends with on Facebook, she would talk about how she works for a staging company. So I made that connection. And it was funny. It was like I contacted her, and she had just left North Carolina and moved back to, well, I knew her from New York, but she moved to New Jersey to start up another agency there. But she put me in contact with the agency here. And then when when this all happened, then another friend of mine's sister owned an agency in Florida. And so that it just went on
but
from
you
there.
had to share it. You had to tell them
Yeah.
what you were doing. and because you had to make the connection for but it might not be 20 years ago. It might just be 2 years, but you've
Right.
been drawing for more. So
Right.
Adam, what would it be for you? Like, what would you say? How long have you been selling? Because you've been making money, making whatever, selling X as
I've
what?
been selling identities for 30 years.
Okay. 30 years. Okay,
Yep.
perfect. All right. So then this
It
is
was
just
very interesting with what Maura said there.
okay.
What she was talking about, especially when you talked about the clipping the top of a plant, because just having an e-commerce store was going extremely thin, right? It was just growing up. That's all it
Mhm.
was. Clipping the top of it and focusing something and finding an audience, on that was maybe
I wasn't
smaller
ready
than
for it, is what I
e-commerce.
learned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because through doing that staging work, I learned more about printing things on large scales like that, and how you do that. And it gave me the confidence to then figure out how to do my e-commerce store. Right.
But it's very interesting because sometimes we do just need a clip away, right? Those
Sometimes it's like you're on this path and you just need to veer off a little, and then you'll come back and
And you
get back
don't want to
on.
clip it because you're like, no, I see the tomato, I see the
Right.
flower. I don't want to clip, but to make the business stronger, there has to be some sort of cutting.
Yeah.
Could be something that I can't wait to hear what you decide to cut or focus on, right? So some of the other reasons that I think we have, I'm just going to read these because I don't want to take you forever. I'm going to see what else I have in my deck. I'm going to go through this really fast. We already did the teachers. Now explain it again, but differently. We already did that. So these are the 4 things that she talks about how the founder story can reveal. So humanize your business for your customers. It helps show how you've overcome adversity, especially like for investors or something. Shows your level of commitment to the client. So you're weaving in parts of the story that have these things. So where was there? I have a friend who works for a nonprofit, and they're trying to find a design team or an advertising agency to work with. And one of her questions was, well, what has been a tough client and how did you get through that? I actually feel like if we had that as part of our story, that may, people wouldn't have to ask that question, or maybe people don't even know to ask that question. But the adversity thing is kind of interesting. Your level of commitment, how much you don't give up, you keep going, you keep trying. Or you're like, hey, I'm going to abandon this because this isn't working. I've tried. Now I'm going to veer off and see what I can go. That's the clipping and going wider or getting stronger. And then if you are emotionally invested, is what part of your story can you share that tells them that you're emotionally invested? I've heard lots of things from both of you that I would say, oh, that's an emotional investment that you made. And I even the thing about the love connection, that is that, like, I am trying to have your customers fall in love with your company. That's my job, right? That's a emotional connection. We do only have a chance to make a great first impression once. And then what if you don't have a great story? And then this is kind of recapping what we've done in the past. So I'm just going to plop through this really quick. So Donald Miller calls it a character transformation. I can't remember what she calls it, but she says a story has 3 parts: normal, explosion, and new normal. Here's what it was before. Here's what happened once they hired you. And then here's what happened. Here's how their life or their business transformed after that. So we're always thinking about, now we're thinking about these things. How did you overcome adversity, or maybe parts of these things? Plus we're adding the new normal, explosion, and new normal. And then she always talks about these 4 things You don't have to have them in all stories, but the more you have, the better. And I adjusted them a little bit here because for the founder story, the identifiable character is you. For a customer story, it's a customer. But this time, it's actually going to be you, Adam. It's going to be you, Maura. It's going to be me. The specific details, she talks about how it needs to be. This is like say you're at a conference, well, then you're going to talk, you're going to reframe your story to be about the people who you're speaking to or the people who are attending the conference. If it's at a networking event where it's a whole bunch of other business owners, it might be more entrepreneurial. If you're in line at Lowe's, it may be something, it's again, audience specific. You're going to need, that's why going through other kind of personas of how you would explain what you do. And your founder story, it may be a little bit. So, and then authentic emotion, and then a significant moment, which are the same things she's said before. So that was the end of the deck. So now I can tell you what the rest of the parts are without feeling like I forgot anything. So I have to go to my notes. So I made up, I don't know how many questions, but I felt like some people, I know just from talking to a lot of people, they're like, my story's not that interesting, or I do think it is. I think you need to tell it to more people to find where those rich little nuggets are. But maybe you start with how long you've been selling, 30 years, branding, right? How do you reinvest your profit into your business to ensure that you're current in your field? Like what other kinds of, do you take classes or read books or do workshops? I think that's a way to trust people, right? Or how much time do you spend doing research on those things or working on your patterns? And I think, this may be short or it may not be, but that's another way that people will feel like, oh, you're committed.
Right.
How has your business, these are all on the sheet. So how has your business evolved or changed since you started? And then, so Adam, I can't wait to hear all the ways that yours has changed and evolved. And even for people who maybe they're still doing the same thing, but maybe your style has changed. Like I don't draw the same that I did when I started. I think the style change might be kind of interesting. I'm just going to read these. If you hear one, just interrupt me. Do either one of those sound like something that you didn't think about adding in to your story? Anyway,
Yeah, I leave a lot of stuff out of my story. Yeah.
So I think that if we have, okay, so did your business have a birthplace or a birth moment? Maybe you created it because you wanted to solve a problem, or there was a situation and you're like, I'm never going to own a company like this. I'm never going to do this at work. I'm going to do it different or something. Or whatever. Maybe you were solving a non-environmental issue, not like green, but you know what I mean. Why are you worth betting on or investing in? Because they are investing in you.
Learner. Yeah.
Yeah.
I continually learn. I always give the example of how like 6 years ago at IBM, they sent out an email saying you can get UX certified with Nielsen Group. And I thought, really? For free?
Yeah.
So I did it and I got UX certified thinking like this is the new thing, they were getting paid better than visual designers here in the US. And so I was interested in it and I did the course and I learned a lot about it, but I learned it's not what I want to do. I don't want to be a UX designer.
Yeah.
But with it, unsurprisingly, what happened, which I never would have thought, I became a manager because of it. So because I was one of the first ones finished with the course and I told everybody I got UX certified and talked about how I didn't want to be one, but how I learned a lot about the processes and I could incorporate that in my work. And I became a manager of that because on the team I'm on, IBM Services, they were like, we want to hire to get two UI UX designers on this team, and you're going to do the hiring. So I got bumped up into a manager pay because of it. And all I really do for them is make sure they're on brand. It's not like I'm really managing them in that way,
Well, you had to make sure that you were finding people who knew what to do, what
Right.
UX UI was.
Right. I guess,
and then but they do need to stay on brand because you do know the brand maybe
we,
better
as
than
visual designers at IBM, they really put on you that you are a brand ambassador.
right.
And it's true. Like I don't share IBM work because it's not all mine.
Right.
I'm grabbing from places and putting other people's stuff in things, and like it's just not all me.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's fair to share that as it's mine. This is my work. It's not
Right. Well, and lots of
when I
corporate.
go to an event and I have things up, I'll take pictures of that and share it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just show design work that I do at work. I wouldn't. I don't think it's fair to share.
Yeah. Well, and I think it gets harder when you have other people underneath you, unless you're tagging them in it. And this is what we
Right.
made, right?
But the fact that we have a DAM, or we have Getty accounts, like we have a
Mhm.
lot of resources that we use. I mean, I was on this huge project about 5 years ago, just doing expressive icons for Cloud and Watson. And it was just such a cool project to be on because you were part of a team of 30 designers from around the world. And just to be on a project where you were, having to adhere to a strict guideline, but be very creative with it. And that was a really changing moment for me when I did that. And that was because at IBM, when we have things that have a lot of statistics in it, we have to send it to legal ourselves. We don't have project managers. We use Trello boards. And so I was dealing with this girl, Lisa, up in New York for, a lot of infographics I was doing.
Mhm.
And she, because one day on the phone with her, I just said to her, I'd love to be on one of those huge projects that you guys pull everybody in for. If I hadn't said that, she never would have even asked me to be on that project. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. If you don't say what you
Right.
want to do, so say
Right. She wouldn't have
Adam's
thought I
like,
wanted to do
I want to
that.
do something else besides logos, or I want to animate
And
logos.
it wasn't like I thought about telling her that. I just kind of said it one day,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if we don't ever,
And I look back at it and it's one of the biggest projects I'm proud of there.
but even the UX UI, like you did it, you said, hey, I'll do this. And then you realized I don't want to do it.
Right.
But then it got you further of doing
bumped
other
up.
things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know what things will bring to you. Well, I'm a big believer in we're not guaranteed tomorrow, and you don't know what's going to happen. And I believe that when you make action, reaction happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You have to be willing to be in the sunshine and put yourself in some water to have some growth, I think.
Right.
But if you're in the dark and you're never
I'm
going
an
to share your
introvert.
story.
I mean, I am an introverted person, and I've always been. And when I talk with mentors, I talk about how I have to get over myself half the time. It's me that I'm getting over,
Well,
like.
And I mean, I'm an extrovert, but I have to get over myself too to be able to share the story. I think about with
And I know
Adam.
for me, it's being comfortable. If I'm comfortable doing something, I'm not nervous. I don't, get anxious about it. And that's why I try to do things that'll be outside my comfort zone to make me comfortable with it. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
I know it works. Yeah, for me.
Yeah, I love that. So the other questions that are on the sheet really are just other things that might help you tell. You might not have all those things, but it's like, how much time and money have you invested back in your business? Is that something you have a budget for? Then that might connect you with somebody else. It's always trying to bridge that gap, that customer gap for you of why should they hire you as opposed to somebody else. And she talks about going back in time. So I'm just going to go over this last part. These are just my notes, my sheets of paper. So you can differentiate because a lot of people are like, oh, well, we have great blankety blank. And it's the same thing everybody else is saying. So maybe you could tell a story about you as a kid and how you were drawing or why you like to use just pastels or charcoal or pencil only, like why the limited medium has helped you be a better illustrator or better artist. For you, more of why you're thinking about spaces and the all the things, right?
Figuring out what I love was a big part of it, and knowing that, what I really love is the color and the
Yeah.
composition.
Yeah.
I'm not really trying to solve a problem.
But it does solve a problem because it's bringing joy to someone.
Right. And I do agree with that. It does bring joy to boring copy. Yeah.
Or room. If it's your art, if it's
Right.
So they said she has like 4.
Yeah, like I want to create art for people's homes because I want them to have conversations about it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So she says go way back. So she talks about this financial advisor and she always liked to play with her money. And her mom's like, no, honey, you cannot. Money is dirty. So she went out in the backyard, got a bucket and some Dawn, and she started cleaning her money. And so she tells the story to new clients. That is part of her founder story. She's like, I understand that laundering money is not usually considered a good thing, but I've been cleaning money since I was a kid because I loved doing that. And I thought, maybe we don't all have a kid story of when we
I have
started.
A good one. Yeah,
okay.
So yeah, like when I was around in sophomore year of high school, I used to redraw album covers, basically, like how I thought they would look. And my older brother, who was 4 years older than me, showed them to friends of his. Like I didn't ask him to.
Oh my gosh, he was just proud.
And then started selling them to them.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, he was my oldest brother, Michael, who's passed away, but he was a salesman. He was, the oldest son, it's hard to be humble guy, and I always think that's kind of gave me a lot of confidence, that him doing that.
And that you knew that there was a place for something like this. Adam,
Right.
Do you have a kid story?
Nah, not so much that I can think of, not in that way. I mean, my kid story was quite different. I mean, I grew up in a construction family. We built houses and restaurants and condominiums and everything else. That was kind of the expectation. My dad would tell me that they call them starving artists for a reason, right? And so I pushed back against that as much as I could, constantly. I wasn't interested in building, although later on in my career, I was building restaurants and coffee shops and doing things like that. So my dad ended up kind of shaking his head saying, yeah, I knew someday. So, but it was good to make him proud on that part of it, that I could take my creative abilities and apply them to the building process, which is very much a
Family
creative
business,
process
yeah.
anyway. I just never saw it like that as a kid, right?
Right.
And the pushback from my dad kind of kept me from ever seeing that, from recognizing building as a form of design.
Oh, totally.
And it is, right? And the stuff you can do with it is amazing. So, and getting your hands dirty and, making something appear from nothing,
Right.
and watching people be changed as they enter it and leave.
Yeah.
Right. That's an amazing thing to do, right? It's
And
like
how proud
decorating
people are of
somebody's
their
house.
homes. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Right. Yeah. Because that's what we hope we can do as creatives, is that
Right.
when somebody passes
Bring that
by the
emotion
stuff
out.
that we've done, that for even just a moment, they are different, right? They see something in themselves, or they see something in the work that reminds them of something about themselves, that we have changed them, or it makes them think, or it changes their mind about the way they believe the world is. All of those things that we can do as creatives. So it's wonderful. But, so I left home and went to school, and I was lucky that I got a scholarship to university. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone. We didn't have the money to do it. But, as part of that tragedy story, when I was 18, I was in an accident and had brain surgery.
Mm.
And even though I had always done artwork, I wasn't doing artwork on my final semester of high school. But my two art teachers from high school entered my work into a scholarship competition, and I got the scholarship.
Nice.
So I was lucky, and it ended up that I did work afterwards. Yay, good enough. But nobody was quite sure if I was going to, and neither was I. I didn't know. I was going to university on an art scholarship and had no idea if I wanted to draw anymore.
Oh,
But I
wow.
did. So, I was lucky there. And then I left the United States at 25 and came to a country where I didn't even know what graphic designers were called. So, and we
Was, yeah.
lived in, yeah, we lived in Copenhagen at the time, and I walked around the city and I'm like, what can I do? I don't know. What am I going to do with my life? I don't really know. And so, like, I would walk past shops that had really cool merchandise, but really terrible branding. And I mean, like, do a double take where you walk past something and go, wait a second, did I just see something? And I turn around and look in the window and go, wow, this place is really cool. And I'd go home and I'd redesign all their stuff, like hand paint signs and redo their logos in the way that I thought they should be expressed. And then I would go back in and walk in the door and stick my foot in the door and say, hey, I walked past your place a week ago. And I mean, literally walked past it. I walked right past it. But when I saw what you did, I was so amazed by it that I made this. Now I understand there's no obligation here. If you like it, let's have a conversation. If you don't, then I'll just leave. That's okay. Right? I didn't lose anything. The work is already done. I've already made it. I got experience by doing that. I grew as a creative by making it. And it was a 50-50 hit.
Yeah.
50% of the time I'd walk away with a job. The other 50%, somebody was pissed because their dog designed it or it was their wife's logo, or, whatever, right? And it's like,
They
okay,
were, yeah.
So
yeah.
attached, yeah.
And it was
That-
good because, I mean, in Denmark, it's only 3 steps to Kevin Bacon. There's no 7 steps here. It's such a small country. And my name got around really quick that I was this young guy who was very ambitious and wanted to work and loved to work. And maybe I was cheap because I was, right? I wanted to do the work more than I wanted the money. And I didn't want the money to limit my ability to do the work I wanted to do, which is awful as a business, right? To like not talk about money, and I'm still
But you
like,
learn, you learn about that a little later, maybe.
no, not really.
Maybe not yet.
No, I've never learned. No. So yeah,
That's an awesome story.
I
Yeah,
guess
So
so.
at it is an awesome
yeah, you
story.
didn't mention that before. Yeah.
That is an awesome founder story.
Ta-da.
Yeah.
That's a go-getter. Yeah, I couldn't have done that. Yeah.
At 25 in a country, were you able to at least speak English to these people or
I was lucky enough that we were in Copenhagen and there were a lot of people that wanted to improve their English. So they would rather I spoke English to them than Danish. So, and I was just in the country at the right time. I mean, the early 2000s, Copenhagen was a very different city than what it is now. We no longer live there. We left after our kids were born. Um, but yeah, I was lucky as heck. And very unlucky, right? Or there was that other end of it that it's not until 5 years ago that I had my first corporate job. Otherwise, I've spent, the 25 years of my career working for myself. And so when I talk to people who have had these big careers, who have worked all these different places, and I go, oh, yeah, okay. Have you ever heard of this company or this musician? I made their stuff. Oh, wow, okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I've always worked for companies. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've done freelance work while I've worked at companies, but I always feel like with that company, I have that backing,
Mhm.
and where when I freelance, I feel like it's all on me,
Mhm.
like it's about me, and I don't like things to be about me. Yeah.
well, it can be a lot of pressure when you have to solve it all or you have to find somebody else to help you to solve
Right.
something.
It's just me. Yeah.
But the more you do it, the more confident you get. You're like, I can figure it out. I mean,
Yeah,
now
no,
there's
like I
YouTube.
answered a LinkedIn ad when the pandemic first happened of somebody I'd gone to school with, and he just put out like Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I was like, oh, that's my insurance company. They're doing a reward
I
program, blah, blah,
remember
blah.
when you did that.
Yeah. And I
Yes.
was kind of like, oh, I can't wait. I'm a customer. I can't wait to see what the reward. I love reward programs, And then he's messaging me saying, more, I hadn't talked to the guy in 20 years. And he's like, more, he goes, do you do print work? Because he'd gone to school with me, so he knew I did. And he wanted to know if I still did it because a lot of kids don't want to do it. And so I'm like the print person at IBM too. And basically he's like, I need somebody to do the print campaign for this. And so I worked with him on that campaign. Like I interviewed with his boss and got the job. And yeah, and I've now still do freelance work for Blue Cross Blue Shield. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm going to go through the last
And that was
two.
not from like, "Lou, like, give me a job."
I
I
know.
wasn't even thinking that.
I know
like
that.
that's why I tell my mentees, just converse with people, just put the stupid little witty thing you want out there, like it doesn't have to be this intellectual, answer to everything.
No, I think you need to connect with people. And I think the
You just need to
connection is
connect.
what,
Yep.
like,
And I don't, what I haven't told about that story. So when his boss, I looked her up on LinkedIn and I saw that she liked glass blowing. And I had just watched a show on Netflix about glass blowing. And so when I did the Zoom, interview with her, I just kind of alluded to it a little bit. You know what I mean? Because I know I connected with her just from that.
mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's she's not going to ask you to blow
She
glass.
doesn't know that I even know that. Yeah.
It's just that you're connecting with people on
Right.
another level. And so then they feel like you're their people and you
Right.
understand them.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's about those relationships.
It totally is. So the other two ways, so from a kid, I think is a good one. Go way back if you can. The cleaning the money, I thought it's a great story.
That's a great one. Yeah.
Maybe there has to be a better way. Kind of as Adam's story, like there's a better way to sell this blank, or there's a better
Here's
way.
a better sign.
Like, yeah, or like where people are walking past this. And she says, like, paint the picture about those people, who they were. I like the fact that in Adam that you were in a new country, you're out there, you're what do I have to lose? I am just trying to find people who need what I can do, and I want to help them. And so, and I love that it was 50-50. Some people were pissed and some people were like, oh my goodness, that's awesome. But it is word of mouth is the best type of and then says, how did events unfold? Who were the people around? Like how long? He said a detail by saying about a week later. Even that small amount tells you a lot about how long it took Adam to do what he did. So small details, she talks about having specific moments or details. And then include if there were any parts that were in hindsight now, I think, right? He said, I wasn't very good with money, or asking for maybe what it was worth. But I think some of that's that a lot of times we're not taught that in school, and then we don't really know what to charge or what something is worth. Sometimes you have to just work with people on a more.
I tend to notice that I always think it's lower than what people are willing to pay.
Well, and we're thinking about how we would buy things, and we're like, I would never spend
and I like to buy cheap. I love a
$10,000 on something. Right. Well, especially also in construction, you're trying to find what can we do? How can we build this? So it's strong, but that it's not, we don't, we might not need to use the oak wood. We need to use pine, or what else can we use? And then the blood, this is number 3. So number 1 is go back to as a kid. Obviously you don't have to have all these in all of them, but there has to be a better way. I thought that was a good way to look at it. And then number 3 is look for the blood, sweat, and tears. And she tells a story about this one lady, a Utah mom who has made these moccasins, and she's selling these moccasins. And she was on Shark Tank, which, do you know what Shark Tank is?
Yeah,
okay. So I think they call it Dragon's Den in the UK. But it's like you're going and you're trying to get investors, and there's nothing really that amazing about the moccasins, to be honest.
Right.
But what
what
was really cool was that to get the money to be able to make the materials or buy the materials she needed to make the moccasins, she would take glass out of aluminum frames all summer in the heat. And that's what she did. A lot of blood. And because she said that part of her story, what she was willing to give up.
I didn't know that's how you did it. Yeah.
Well, it's not. That was how she did it to make money, because the aluminum was worth money. So then she would take it to scrap, and then she would have money to be able to go and buy her leather or whatever material she was making. So that was just how she did it. But when the Sharks heard that, they were like, we're in.
Wow.
She's committed, right? She's blood, sweat, and tears, went totally something not in her industry. She's literally punching glass out of metal frames to be able to take the aluminum to recycling or wherever to be able to get the money out. And maybe there's a blood, sweat, and tears in yours. I know Dave Ramsey, who's a money guy over here, has books, has a podcast, has web shows, has a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of courses as well. But it's, they said the other product you're selling is yourself. And so with that woman, she was selling herself for sure. And Dave Ramsey talks about just do whatever it takes. You get a second job. You deliver pizzas after your full-time job so that you're making enough money to get out of debt. That's what Dave Ramsey says. So some founders confuse the founder story with she gives 4 pitfalls, but I'm just going to tell y'all 2. This is the very end. That don't confuse the founder story with the value story of what the value is of the logo or what the value is. It's actually about you, Adam. It's about you, Maura. It's about you and your commitment to your business and your craft and your commitment to what you do for a client. You know, that you were the go-getter, that you took the UX UI course there. You went out and it didn't matter. You just walked around and you were
people. You're very dependable.
Yeah. But maybe that's one thing. There aren't as many dependable people as there are. And then sometimes maybe this is where you are in some of the things of what we are, because we're one body, but we have all these things going and we have all these different stories. And Adam, you talked about like you're veering off. But your story, this is pitfall number 2, is that you're tired of telling it. So I'm going to change it up. So she used this example. Have you ever gone to see a play or a musical or something at the whatever? Have you ever seen? How about a movie? Do you ever watch the same movie or read the same book? I have a certain movie that I watch all the time.
I tend to not like to do that.
Okay. But have you ever gone to see a play?
Yes.
Okay. What if those actors during the play, they were like, you know what? I'm not going to do it the way it was written. I'm going to do my own thing. No, I didn't come to see you do it your way. I came to see the way it was written, right? I want to see it, the Hamilton, the way it was written. I don't want to see it. I want to see the Sound of Music the way the Sound of Music was written. I don't want it your version today. Or like a band.
Like Mean Girls. They're doing the new Mean Girls.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to watch it because they love the original.
Right. But in that, your story it's important that you tell it the same, that you explain. There are certain parts where you can adjust, like for audience, to make the connection, but don't leave something out, because like if Adam did not weave in the part of his dad being a builder, because now he is building. He's maybe not with all of his hands, everything. He's building something in another way, although you probably had to do some other environmental graphics maybe, and it made it a benefit that you had that background. But you were able to walk around and talk to people because you knew what you had experienced and what was stopping maybe them from having more customers. But
I tell mentees a lot of times, like, when you can go and bring your design to present it, whatever, give the proof to somebody, give it a little context to it.
Yeah.
You know, don't just send it like, here's the proof, let me know if you're at it, you know, like,
yeah,
because I've learned that when you do that, you get so much pushback. Like, it's like, did you try this? Did you try that? Did you, you know? And I'm like, so don't do that. Like, just tell them, like, I tried this and I really think this worked better. And like, just give a little story to it, you know, like,
yeah,
don't just submit stuff. Because I used to do that.
We've all done that because we
Yeah.
thought that was the okay way
Right.
to do it. Right.
Right.
Anyway, thank you guys for doing this with me.
Yeah, I
Um,
wasn't expecting to be on camera, but yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you were both here, and I'm glad that
I'm glad
Janine came.
I was too. Mhm.
Hopefully, I mean, we didn't, you maybe we'll have to do another segment where you're actually telling your story, but hopefully now you have some pieces to build, and then you can start editing it down and you try it out. But then once you get it, don't really keep it the same. Like, Adam, you're really close to being done, I think. I mean, I would want to work with you if you've been doing that for that many
Yeah, that
years.
was very impressive. You going around to businesses being like, yeah, this is how I would envision it. Yeah, I think that's very impressive.
But I mean, now it's kind of tough. I burnt out in 2016. I didn't work for a year, and then I've had a job since. So I quit my job uh, in June of last year to start doing some more fine artwork. But I've been freelancing for the company that I quit at
That
ever
sounds
since.
like Mora.
I'm still kind of doing the same work. Um, but I'm kind of in this little position where it's like, it's maybe time for a shift again. Like, what's the next thing? And what should it be? And is that story even relevant anymore? Is all of that stuff that I did and went through, does it make a difference? Or is it time to kind of turn that table over? Right.
Well,
And that's when some of that tragedy talk comes in. It's like, because there did come tragedy in 2016. It was like
Yeah.
everything just collapsed on itself. And I don't feel like I can tell that story without talking about that. And I mean, 7 years later, I'm still not over it because I haven't gotten rid of that baggage because it's part of the story. But I don't know. So
because
yeah.
you don't want to tell that part, like it's under the water, or it's not.
It almost feels like a hindrance because I do rely on the income that I can get from doing the work that I'm good at and have done for a long time. Um, and to kind of say that I don't want to do it anymore, I
Yeah,
think
I agree with that. Yeah.
kind of locked me into that position of, all right, what am I selling people? Right? Am I selling them my best by saying, hey, I burnt out 8 years ago and I
Yeah.
don't know that I can deliver
People
what
don't want to hear it. They
no, they
don't.
don't want to hear it. No.
But are
Yeah.
your new clients, are those people, even if you're selling artwork, or are those people aren't even they would care about the burnout. They would care that you've done all this. It's not the same audience. So you
I
would
would care that
be,
you got over the burnout is what I would care about.
I don't know that I have though.
it's hard.
Well, get over it, and then you tell that
I know I
story.
should. Yes, I know.
But I think that's too you're right. You can't tell the burnout story to the people who
Yeah,
you're
I
still
better make you tell me
serving.
she told her boss that she was burnt out. I'm like, what did you expect to get from that? Like, I would never go to a boss and be like, I'm burnt out. I just can't do this anymore. Like, you don't do that to someone
But
that can fire you.
and you don't do that to a client that will go somewhere else. So,
Right.
but you're telling the story to the people who you want to be the new client. And that's
Yeah, so
at
that's
least
when I
what,
want to hear, okay, you had a burnout and this is how you overcame that burnout and how
and you
you're
pivoted and
you are now. Right. You pivoted, right.
you started selling your artwork or creating. I don't know exactly what you want to do, but we're going to have our coffee talk, and you will do it then. I'm going to send you a link, Adam, so you can click on and find a time that works for you. But like, that's what I think. You're not telling that burnout story to these people that are this at where the stuff that you don't really want to do anymore, but it's still paying the bills. You're going to start telling this story to the new people. If those people hear it, it's different. They're not interested in your fine art. They're actually probably going to tune out because they don't need, leggings with patterns,
Yeah.
like they're just like, oh, that's not for me.
Oh yeah, like people at IBM could care less if I did patterns, right?
Right. It's not, they don't even know you're going to be talking about,
I don't talk about it with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's about the conversations. But if you're on social media and you're talking about your art, they will tune out because that's not what they're interested in. You may have some crossover, but I actually feel like they're two separate things. It's like students who will say, I'm going to put my ceramics on my design portfolio website. I was like, no, you're not. That's stupid. That's
Oh
like,
yeah, I see girls in that I view portfolios and they have like, photography on there. I'm like, do you want to be a photographer?
right. It
Like
look
why are you putting your photography? I'm like, I tell them like create a tab that says like playground or something, and that's where you put
right.
your stuff
Yeah,
you're doing
your
for
side
fun.
projects.
Yeah,
Yeah. But if they're really trying to sell their art, then sell your art. It's a
right,
different audience than the audience for the trying to get a job
oh
or
definitely,
trying to get design clients.
right.
Anyway, well, Adam, it's super late, and it looks like your lights that are in your door that are reflecting your door
Okay,
are like
I
a
see
monster back there. Do you
it.
see it?
I see it.
But it is 10:30 p.m. here now. So
Oh wow.
Well, thank you guys for giving
4:30
me 2
here.
hours instead of an hour and a half.
Oh, I know. It's 4:30. I just said it. Yeah.
But it's been fun, and I
It
really,
has. It's been interesting. Yeah. I
it's
always feel like whenever you have a conversation, you learn a little bit about yourself, a little bit.
absolutely. And I think sometimes you just have to be reflective, have conversations with ourselves, like you were talking about, Maura, in the very beginning. Like, I need to reflect more on what is
Right. I
working
know
or
when
not
I write
working.
things down, when I journal, it helps me understand it. It helps me remember it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I'm not
Absolutely.
a writer. I mean, I'm not a good writer.
Well, you don't have to be a good
That's something I
writer.
practiced. Yeah.
You're communicating to yourself, and you're helping. The more you
Right.
journal, the better you'll get.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, well, that's it. That is the founder story. I had 7 pages of handwritten notes.
Wow.
So,
I have one
I
page.
mean, these are my notes for these are the ones that I had done. So maybe fill out your sheets. They're 3 pages. That maybe it'll help you, but I'd love to see you both or anybody else that's listening after. I'd love to see what you come up with, even if
What
it's
you're
a
right.
verbal. You can write it out. You could send me a video of it. Any of that. I just think I'm big on practicing. The more you practice, the better it gets. We don't want it to be like a script. I did this, that, we
Right.
don't want it to be like that. But I do think it's important that we practice and we figure out what's really resonating and so that we don't veer off. Because I think it's important that you keep that same, you tell the same story.
That's a good point because that's not something I feel like I've done. Yeah.
I don't think I've done it either. I mean, I am not good at that. I need to practice telling because go off in long tangents. So I need to work on that. Adam's like, yes, you do.
oh, I do too. I'm saying yes, I do.
It's okay. I know I do. But I can work on that. I know I can work on that. But I'm glad that I finally got to see your face, Adam. So it's really, really great. And Maura, it's always good to see you. Thank you
That's always
so
good.
much. And I'm glad that you didn't can you imagine if it was in 2020, you would have been like, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this.
Oh,
So
I wouldn't have even like attempted it. And even today, I wasn't like I said, I wasn't planning on getting on camera, but apparently, I was trying to fix things. So we use other things for like work and stuff, and so I was like, my camera wasn't working one time, then the voice wasn't working another time. So I kind of just like opened everything up, and so when I opened up Zoom, I could tell it was going to be video, and I was like, how do I turn this off? So
well, I'm
and I couldn't
glad.
figure it out. I didn't have time to figure it out. And so then I was like, you know what? Who cares?
Yeah, you got a
That's
great
me though.
story.
My first reaction is no, 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 and then it's like, okay. You
But you
know?
did great. And hopefully we learned something. I
Exactly. Yeah.
appreciate y'all showing up today. So you made my day. So
I'm
thank
proud
you.
of myself. Yeah, that I didn't bail out.
Yeah. And Adam, what time do you normally go to bed?
Uh, uh, Whenever.
I would have already been in bed for an hour and a half if I was
I'd
Adam.
be dead at 10:30. Yeah.
I started working at 6 this morning, so it's about time to.
Yeah, you got to go. Anyway, Adam, thank you so much for giving us so much of
It's
your
so nice to be
late
here.
night.
Thank you for
Yes.
letting me know. So, and it was wonderful meeting you.
Thank
So,
you.
both of you, and hearing your stories. So, it
Thank
was,
you. And now I can't wait to get the arms story of that on the wall back there.
oh,
Uh,
yeah.
and those
Just
posters behind you look really cool also.
thank you.
Okay. All right, can't wait. I'm going to send you that link on Facebook since that's how me and you message each other.
Oh, and happy birthday.
Oh, well, thanks.
I didn't mention it. I just remembered I sent it on Facebook this morning.
Well, thank you. That's why it made my day, so I didn't have to spend it alone. So I really appreciate you guys
Awesome.
doing this on my
Glad I
birthday.
got to spend a little hour with you on your birthday.
Me too. All right, I will see you guys next week, and
care, everybody.
have a great week.
We will. Thanks.
Bye.